everybody, it's Mommy and Ann Kaplan for you guys talking today about sex. We are talking about sex this whole week. How to talk about sex with our kids, how to talk about sex with little kids, how to talk about sex with big kids, how to talk about where babies come from, how to talk about all that stuff. And for all of you pregnant moms and new moms out there, we're going to be talking about sex while you're pregnant and sex right after you've had a baby and what that all looks like. But today what I want to focus on is littles. When I say littles, I mean little kids, like maybe ages like 5 and younger, maybe even a little bit older than that. The transition from the littles talk to the bigs talk is a gray area that you kind of have to just feel out for yourselves as parents. But with littles, it's very simple actually to talk about sex with your kids. And my suggestions to you today are super implementable. The first suggestion, and this is not a suggestion, this is an absolute necessity when it comes to talking about sex with your kids, is check your drama, okay? Because think about the squirmy, uncomfortable, awkward feeling you might get when your kids ask you about sex or ask you about your private parts or ask you about all that stuff. That's all coming from your own experience about sex. And maybe you've had trauma in the past, maybe you've had negative experiences, maybe you have a bunch of drama that the world or your parents or whoever has dumped on you. We all have that stuff. But I know you guys, and I know that you don't want to be dumping that stuff on your kids, right? So the way that we don't dump that stuff on our kids is to check that stuff at the door. Before you even have this conversation with your kids, if it's in the moment and a kid asks you a question, if it's when you're planning to sit down and have the talk, check your drama, because there's nothing wrong with sex. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, and it's something that's really powerful and healthy if we can work with our kids to make sure that it is that way for them. So the first thing you have to do is check your drama and recognize this is a conversation which kids have natural curiosity about, the same as they have curiosity about the rest of their bodies, the rest of the world, all the funny questions our kids ask. Sex is just one of those things. And the more you treat it that way, the better off you and your kids are going to be. So you've checked your drama, you're ready to talk about this stuff. What are you going to do? The first thing I want to tell you is if you are having this conversation in response to a question, just answer their question. It doesn't have to be this huge big drama thing that they're introducing to you. Your kid might literally be asking you, where do babies come from? And you might say, babies grow inside their mommies. Or you might say, babies come out of their mom's vaginas. And nothing else. And if the kid has still more questions, answer them. But I can't even tell you guys how many times I've gotten questions from my kids in the beginning when my kids were young, and I'm thinking in my mind like, okay, it's time for us to have this talk about sex, where do babies come from, all that stuff. And halfway through this like big speech that I'm ready to give them, the kid is like, can we have a banana now? Your kid doesn't think it's that big of a deal, because the only reason we think it's a big deal is because someone taught us that, and no one's taught your kid that yet. So when your kid asks you a question, just answer that question and that question alone, okay? Use real words when you're speaking to your kids. Don't use weird, funny names for body parts like no place or boo-boo or any of that stuff. Vagina, penis, vagina, penis, vagina, penis. Say it, own it, it's okay. And there's tons and tons of studies out there that show that the more we use the real anatomical words to talk about our bodies with our kids, the less likely they are to become victimized later by predators. Because knowing the body part names, speaking about your body in frank terms is a huge sign that you're not an easy target. So the more we talk to our kids with real words, the more we're teaching them body positive and sex positive mindset, okay? Use real words. Third thing, tell the truth. Don't make up some baloney about how the stork brings babies or mommy and daddy were just wrestling or any of that stuff, because it's a lie, and you know that you don't want to be lying to your kids. All you're doing is fueling a really confusing conversation later, and you're feeding your kids information that indicates to them that it's something they don't want to know about. It's naughty, it's bad, it's a secret, it's private, they can't handle it. We don't want to be giving our kids all of those messages. Tell your kids the truth. If your kid asks you, what are we doing? What were you and daddy doing? Just tell them, we were making love. Well, what's that? Well, it's an act that mommies and daddies do together because they love each other, and it's a way for us to show our special kind of romantic love. That is a perfectly legitimate answer that answers your question honestly and is age appropriate, okay? And the last thing I want to say about how to talk to your kids is, even though you're answering their question and nothing more, you don't need to go into this huge diatribe, you don't need to pull out charts and books and all of these things. Leave the door open. Always finish the conversation saying, buddy, I love talking about this stuff with you. I'm totally happy to answer any questions you have, and you can always ask me anything. There's never anything that you can't ask me. Do you have any questions right now? Let's talk about it some more if you want to. Leave the door open for more conversation. Set the precedent early with your kids that they can come to you anytime with any questions they have. And the last couple of things I want to talk to you guys about isn't about talking to your kids about sex. It's about laying the foundation for a sex positive mindset. And those tips are: be naked around your kids. Be naked, don't cover up, don't hide your body unless you feel uncomfortable, but recognize that it's okay for your kids to see your body and treat your body like something that it is, which is a completely normal and natural thing. Be naked around your kids. Let your kids see what bodies look like. People are flabbergasted that my 13-year-old son still sees me naked sometimes. But guess what, you guys? The body is just the body is just the body. And the more that we are open and honest with our kids, the more that we can have a really frank and open conversation when those things come up. And you can imagine the kind of conversations I'm having with my teenager now. I'm really grateful that we have that kind of foundation. Next tip, respect bodies. That means you have boundaries around your body and your kids need to respect them, and you respect their bodies too, because you're teaching them that they have power over their body. And that brings me to the last tip for you guys around sex positivity, which is no means no. And that has nothing to do with sex in the beginning. It has to do with you're having a tickle fest with your kids and your kid says no, even if you know they're kidding, you stop immediately, because you're teaching your kid from infancy that when they say no, they're the boss of their body, and no means no. And that sets the precedent for that when in the future, sometime they say no and it doesn't have that immediate response, they know that's not right. That's not what I was taught, okay? So in our house, when someone says no, it means no. Even if I know 2 seconds later, my kid's gonna say, wait, I was just kidding, let's do it again, because we're tickling or wrestling, we're jumping on the bed, whatever. No means no. Okay, you guys, I really hope that this stuff starts a dialogue for you, that it gives you some help, and that you can do these things. You can check your drama at the door so you can have a frank conversation. You can answer your kids' questions and really listen to what they're asking you. Use real words and tell the truth when you're talking to your kids. Leave the door open for them to ask you more questions, and just promote body positivity in your house by just being uncomfortable with your own body, being naked around your kids, showing them that it's no big deal, respecting bodies, and letting your kids to know every time, if they say no, it means no. If I say no, it means no. You are the boss of your body. I love you guys so much. This topic is so important. Share this video out with anybody who has littles, because we all need to think about how we're going to talk to our kids about sex and bodies. And I'll be talking tomorrow about sex when you're pregnant and when you have a newborn baby. And on Thursday, we're going to talk even more about how to talk to our kids about sex when they're older, when they start realizing things like sex actually is kind of fun and it might feel good, and what about pornography and things like that? All of the real Pandora's box that we don't want to deal with. It's coming your way, you guys. So we're going to talk about it on Thursday. Have an amazing day. And one last thing for you guys. I've got an amazing seminar coming up on the 4th. If you know anyone who's expecting a baby, you have got to share this event with them. It is going to be a game-changing time for anybody who's planning their birth and wants to be able to do it with happy, excited, confident enthusiasm instead of scared and pressure and guilt and people trying to take it over for you. So share that event out, send people my way. I want to get as many people as I can enrolled in this seminar before the 4th. Have an amazing day, you guys. Happy Tuesday, and bye.